Today's Self-Directed IRA Saturday webinar here with Quest Trust Company. My name is Haley Gant, and I work really closely with the rest of our marketing team to help put on all of these events and webinars for you guys every single week. Today, I am super excited to have with us today Fuquan Bilal joining us all the way from New Jersey, here to talk about how to actively and passively invest into tax liens. So before we get started with today's main presentation, I do have just a couple of quick announcements for you guys, kind of walk you through a little bit about who we are at Quest, how we can help you in your real estate investments, as well as some of our fun upcoming events and other networking opportunities that we have going on right now as well. So, quick commercial about Quest. At the core of our business, we are a self-directed IRA custodian. So basically what that means is at Quest, we teach investors how to utilize their old 401ks or IRAs to invest into non-traditional assets outside of the stock market. So all of our clients here at Quest use their IRAs to invest into real estate, invest into promissory notes, tax liens, multifamily and commercial deals. You really have a lot of options to actually invest with these funds that you have sitting in your retirement account. And the best part is all of the profit that you make from these deals in your IRA goes back into the account, essentially without being taxed. So it's a great way to not only shelter some of your own real estate investments from your own income taxes and capital gains taxes each year, but it also really truly allows you to have control over where your retirement money is invested and not just be at the will of how the stock market is maybe doing this week or this month. You guys kind of get the picture there. So we're based out of Houston, Texas. We do have offices in both Dallas and Austin as well, but we work with clients all across the country. We operate in all 50 states. A lot of our services and processes can be done completely online. And we also have a really nice client portal as well. So through the client portal, you can upload all of your investments. You can keep track of your accounts for both you and any family members whose accounts you might manage. And we've got about $2 billion in assets under our administration. Now, the reason why we like to touch on that is because all of that $2 billion in assets is all privately held assets that our clients have self-directed their IRAs into to truly diversify where their funds are invested. So here at Quest, we provide a lot of education. We put on a lot of events. We bring in a lot of different guest speakers. But please be aware of this last highlighted bullet point right here. It's our disclaimer, and it's so important. Please be aware that at Quest, we do not give tax, legal, or investment advice. Again, we put on a lot of education. We love to kind of point you in the right direction and give you a lot of access to different types of educational resources. But please make sure that you are vetting the people that you are doing deals with, whether it's with your IRA funds or non-IRA funds. Make sure that you're not rushing into deals with people that you don't know. Take the time to really get involved with some of the reputable real estate networks out there, and it'll really help you be successful, not only in your own investments, but in your IRA investments here as well. Now, like I mentioned, this class is just one of many events that we host here at Quest. It's actually one of the things that we're really known for in the industry is hosting a lot of really high quality educational events for our clients, investors, non-clients, and we try to make our education as accessible to as many people as possible. Now, that being said, if you are in Texas, if you're in Houston, Austin, or Dallas, we are bringing back the in-person events. If you guys have been watching our webinars for a while, you know last month we were really pumped up for our big grand reopening events, and as the world would have it, we ended up having to cancel about half of them. I was really upset, but we have to keep everyone safe. That's the number one priority. So moving forward in September, we are bringing back a COVID-safe return to education. We will be hosting mixers in all of our Texas offices, but we will be limiting the capacity to about 50 attendees per office. So if you're interested in attending these mixers, we're actually going to be bringing back our most popular foundations and basics classes for all three cities. We'll be talking about how to be successful with self-directed IRA investing, private money lending, and some of the other investment options that you have with your IRA as well. So do me a favor, if you want to attend these events, I do have Sarah with me online today. She's moderating today's webinar. She's going to be posting some links for you guys in the chat. And if you can do me a favor, if you want to attend these events, make sure to RSVP. If you're not able to attend, or maybe if you're not local to one of our Texas offices, you can watch all of these events online through Zoom. They'll be saved on our YouTube channel as well. So be sure to go check those out. And we're excited to see all of you guys, at least as many as I'm allowed to put into our offices right now, which is about 50 people, to really keep it at a safe social distance with everyone. Now, like I was mentioning, if you are unable to attend those events, or if you're interested in the other types of education that we offer, these are just some of the many different opportunities that we have for you guys. One of the ones that I always like to highlight on this slide is our virtual networking happy hour. This event is awesome. I actually started it myself in the middle of the pandemic last year, because you guys are real estate investors. You don't just want to learn, you want to network and build connections with other people in the industry as well. So that's exactly what we created the virtual networking happy hour for. It is on the first and third Wednesday of every single month. And where our webinars are set up more as a Zoom webinar, we can't see your faces. You can't really, share your camera and talk to us. The virtual networking happy hour is actually set up as a Zoom meeting. So everyone gets a chance to share their cameras. Everyone gets a chance to introduce themselves to the group. And it's really been a great way to connect investors with each other from all across the US. And we've gotten a ton of great feedback from this event. So the next virtual networking happy hour is actually coming up this upcoming Wednesday. I believe that is September 1st. Sarah will post the link for you guys so you can get your RSVP to that. And you can meet about 40 to 50 other real estate investors in about an hour and a half. It's a really, really great event. Now, you can also check out our other classes on our website under our events tab. You can watch all of our classes on our YouTube channel. So that's a great resource for you guys. But as always, if you ever have questions, just reach out to us. We have several IRA specialists on our team that are here to help walk you through any questions you might have. And again, kind of help to point you in the right direction based on what your needs are and what you might be looking to do with those retirement funds. And to make that deal even sweeter, we do have a bit of a flash sale going on right now. Now, full disclosure, this promotion technically ended yesterday, but with me hosting a webinar the day after that promotion ends, let's extend it through the end of the day today. If you guys reach out to us, Sarah, go ahead and put my direct email in the chat there. If you guys send me an email, because again, technically this has ended, but I will extend it for you guys here on the webinar. Send me an email, haley.gant@questtrust.com. You can get the spelling for that in the Zoom chat. Just send me a quick email with your contact information, and I'll make sure we get you taken care of, and we'll waive that $100 account opening fee. Not only that, but we do also have our rewards for deposits promotion going on right now as well. So if you're looking to fund your Quest account before the end of this month, we'll give you potentially up to $500 in account credits. Again, send me an email, Sarah. Go ahead and put that in the chat for everyone. If you guys reach out to me directly, I'll make sure we get you taken care of. And without further ado, that's the rest of our contact information. We are really easy to get a hold of. Give us a call, send us an email. You can even chat live with a real IRA specialist through our website at any time during our business hours, Monday through Friday. And to really kind of sum that up, guys, we're here for you. We understand that this year has been crazy, and, we're really looking forward to the in-person events coming back. But at the end of the day, my main goal is to have as many people become successful from these resources that we're able to offer to you. So if you have questions, if you have feedback, let us know. And without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Fuquan Bilal. Fuquan, I'm super excited to have you here today. It's always a joy to have you here on our events. Guys, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering them at the end of the presentation. And Fuquan, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure to be on this platform and educate you guys, some of the investments and stuff that I partake in. So as you mentioned, very important. Disclosure is important. This is for educational purposes only. What I'm going to do today is I'm just going to really walk you guys through my experience with tax lien investing. You may be in the tax deed state. I will cover that. We'll talk about what the difference is. So it's very important for you to realize that if you want to be in this business, that it is a passive play as well as an active play. Some of the stuff that I'm going to go through today is more active, as I am a real estate investor. I invest into tax liens, I invest into notes, and I do fix and flip. So anything real estate related, I have about 21 years of experience. And again, today I'm just going to share my journey and my experience with you for tax lien investing. So I would say probably I learned this strategy, first got educated on it maybe 12 years ago, and never really put it into play probably till about maybe, I would say 4 years ago, when I really started to take it serious. And that was because at the time where I was getting inventory from was hedge funds that was actually going to the local municipalities and buying these tax liens, seasoning them. I'm in New Jersey, so we're a tax lien state. And after they would be seasoned, they would foreclose on them. And then they would sell them off to me, or before they were able to get the final judgment, they will start marketing these deals to me and I would go out and buy them. And I became quite intrigued because I was actually, they were the middleman. And I was like, wow, if they're selling it to me at this price, they must be getting it cheaper. So how can I buy at the level that they're buying? I have the capital, I have the resources to buy. At the time we were pulling down large pools of notes, and I had to still have the capital and resources to do that. So I was like, how can I make that direct connection? So I started to do some, investigation, going to the local municipalities and the townships, trying to figure out, the best way to get involved with it. So as you guys may be aware, if you're in a tax lien state, every year at the end of the year, somewhere around Christmas time, before the new year, they do what's called a tax auction, right? That's local, that's in your local municipality. You can easily call the local township and find out more information about when is the date, what doesn't happen. It's probably more virtual now because of what's happening in the market, but it still happens every year. And this is a way for the township to collect on back taxes, right? So the simple part of it is that you start, if you're delinquent on taxes, they start to send the property owners notices saying that, hey, your property is going to be going to tax sale, and this is the auction date. You must pay these taxes and interest before the date, or your house is going to be, your lien will be sold. So probably about 50 to 60% of those liens get redeemed. Those liens get paid and caught up before the auction. And then when they have the auction, you have hedge funds, local investors, they attend these events and they try to bid on a tax lien to win. So that is a traditional tax sale that happens here in the state of New Jersey, any tax lien state. At the end of the year, they do a big sale and the taxes are sold off. And what I started to learn was that there's two types of tax auctions that you can participate in the townships where I buy at. One is the regular tax lien sale that I just mentioned. And the other one is a special tax lien auction, which is for vacant property. And I'll get into that a little bit in the presentation and why I like that better. For me, it's a better way to buy because it's like I'm bidding on this tax lien, but really I'm going after the property. So that's what we talk about, passive versus active. If you want to be passive and you're not going to be active, if you're doing it from out of state and you have some resources you can utilize to do this passively, that strategy is just buying tax liens on properties that are occupied. And the reason that I say that is because more than likely, if the property is occupied, the person, from what I've seen in my experience, is going to redeem the lien, which is good for you because you'll make a nice return. And basically, all you had to do was push the file to an attorney to review it. And, you hold on to the lien depending on what your state, what's happening in your state. Like in New Jersey, we have to wait 2 years to season a lien, they call it, before we can start the foreclosure. And then it's another 10 months. So this is a long-term investment strategy. So if anyone thinking that, you can buy a tax lien cheap and turn around and take the property right away and sell it, it's a long-term strategy. It's usually around a two-year play, sometimes longer if you're going a passive route in New Jersey and you're buying tax liens. So some states like Florida and other states are tax deeds. As soon as you foreclose on a property, you actually get, as soon as you buy it at the auction, you actually get the tax deed, which extinguishes all the liens, and then you can go do what you have to do. But there are redemption periods that you may want to be aware of. So as far as the passive sides, what I see is a lot of people, especially the hedge funds, they go in and they go to the end of the year auction and they bid down the lien. And we'll talk about that bidding down and how that works. Typically, what I see in my state, there's somewhere between a 16 to 18% return when you're buying these tax liens at the end of the year. And people are redeeming because the townships charge, 16%, 18% taxes. When you buy the lien, you actually get the same rights as the township to be able to collect on a lien. So when the homeowner come to redeem the taxes, then they have to pay you the same interest. So that's the passive part. Really, you didn't do much. You just attended the auction and then went from there. Excuse me. So the active part, which I like, is when I look at a tax lien on a property, some of the municipalities have what they call special lien auctions. And in the special lien auction, these are properties that are vacant, dilapidated, or in some need a repair. Typically, I look for stuff that's maybe $60,000 or more repair, and the lien is somewhere more than $25,000 and the property is vacant. To me, that is really the opportunity that you will definitely get the property, because a bank is not going to redeem that. They're typically in first position, and they may just wind up letting the tax lien foreclose. So some things that you need to know about. Every state is different. It's really an incentive when it comes to municipal property taxes when they're delinquent, from the owner. And the tax liens, these are imposed by federal, state, and counties. And it's something that the township really, that giving me the feeling of importance also, being able to go into these townships where there's dilapidated properties, rehabbing the properties and putting them back on a tax roll. That's really one of the main reasons that I really started to invest in the areas where I invest in buying tax liens, because it's an opportunity to buy these properties and blocks of these properties for really cheap, rehab them and put them back on a tax roll and create a better place for residents to live. That was the main reason that we buy tax liens here in the cities that we do in New Jersey. So the passive route is where you will see a lot of people go. I see that the yields now are lower because people are bidding down a lien, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the presentation. But really, it's just the property taxes are superior to mortgages, right? So for any of you guys who buy notes or you're in the paper business, you know that if you don't pay those taxes, you can be foreclosed on and your lien will be extinguished. So taxes come first, then there's the mortgages. So just keep that in mind when you're doing private money lending and you're lending people money. That's part of the due diligence that you want to do on an ongoing basis, is making sure that person who you lent money on that property, who's maybe rehabbing it to sell it, that they're keeping up with the taxes. Very, very important. Oops, let me just go back one. All right. Okay, here we go. So this is what I was talking about when they bid down the interest. So in the typical tax sale and at the end of the year, you may see liens come out for the face value. Let's just say a lien come out, the person owes $10,000 for taxes, and the interest is $18,000 on that $10,000 certificate. You'll see people bid $15,000 for this lien. So now essentially it's not going to be an 18%, it's going to be lower. You'll see some people bid 20,000. So now instead of making 18%, they'll make, less than 10%, on this. And some people may bid 25,000. When I first learned this space and got educated on it, I attended a few auctions and I really didn't understand what was happening. Why was people paying more than a lien, right? Of course, they're raising capital cheaper. If they're raising money at 4%, then of course they can bid it down to 10% and 9% because there's still an arbitrage for them there. So that started to make sense to me. But I didn't want to play the game with the big hedge funds because I knew, I couldn't go to war with these guys. These guys have, millions and millions of dollars that, I've seen people bid down to 2%, and that just didn't make sense to me. So I pivoted and I started to look at other ways that I can be successful in this tax lien venture. And that brought me to the dilapidated properties, buying properties on those type of assets, the special tax lien auctions. So I started to go to the different municipalities and inquire, hey, what do you guys do with your vacant properties? And I mentioned this on a few presentations. That vacant property list is so vital in different municipalities because a lot of people don't know that some of the townships auction those off through the tax liens or through special auctions. So when I discovered that, I was like, okay, I know that these guys don't want to get their hands dirty and don't want to do the work. So this is a play for a local person, which would be me. So how can I take advantage of this? How can I win this? How can I win this bid? Like, how do I know I'm going to be successful in this? And I literally, when I received the list, me and a few of my contractors, and I took, one of my boys with me, my son, and we spent the whole weekend looking at over 100 properties, like going to the sites physically, doing due diligence on them, looking for environmental oil tanks, trying to do some type of budgets from properties that were not secured, that were open, doing some renovation budgets or whatever. And then we came up with a list out of those 100 properties that we really wanted to bid on. And we did the max allowable offer. And we did it as if we was going to purchase it, fix it, and flip it. Some of the people that I noticed that were at the tax auction, they never even saw the property. They were just there bidding. They had no idea. It was just crazy. So after we did the due diligence, I felt really comfortable that this was definitely an arena that I wanted to be in because it would allow me, one, to buy property off market by the way of a tax lien, right? I knew that it was a long-term game, a long-term hold, because with the special tax lien auction in New Jersey, they have a fast track foreclosure law. And this is something I learned from the note space. If the property is vacant, you can fast track the foreclosure. So instead of waiting the 2 years with this auction, I had to wait maybe 10 months, right? After I purchased the lien, I would wait 10 months before I get the final judgment, which is the deed in my state. And then I can start the renovation, and it's still a 1-year redemption. That's something that you want to keep in mind also. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the presentation, is a redemption period you may have in your tax deed or tax lien state. Once I kind of wrapped my head around that and really understood the business and attended a few auctions and rubbed shoulders with a few people and asked a few questions and did more due diligence, I became confident to go out and bid the next auction. So we actually did the due diligence, we attended the auction, and we were successful in taking down several properties at multiple auctions. But this slide I have here is basically, if you're passive, depending on the state you're in, whatever, you want to find out what the county, the interest the township is charging on the liens. It could be 18, 24, and 36% in some areas of the country. So you go to your local municipality and go, hey, when you guys, people don't pay their taxes, what is the interest? And when you sell it at the tax auction, does that interest transfer to me? More than likely is yes. So you want to check with your local municipality on that. I already explained that the tax lien has priority. You can foreclose on a property, and once you do that, you can rent, finance, or sell. So, tax deeds, basically, we talked about that. The tax sale certificate is sold. Basically, you get the property right away. I know upstate New York, they have that. In Pennsylvania, some parts of PA, they have that. Florida, they have tax deed, which is a faster way, but there's still a redemption period that you want to keep in mind. So I like what we have here. The tax deed is pretty much a faster play. I don't really know in Florida, the laws in Florida, what are the redemption period, but I know the tax lien in New Jersey, there's a 1-year redemption period from the time we get the final judgment. And here's the process also. So I'll be more than willing to share these slides with you guys. This is sort of like a process map. I like to geek out on this stuff and make sure I have processes. And how this was built actually was, once I went to several of the tax lien auctions, I went to the township and I asked every township that I went to, who is the attorney that you guys use to foreclose because what happens is if nobody buys the lien, then the township foreclose and they have the judgment or whatever, they have the lien on the property. And then sometimes they'll sell them or they'll sell the tax lien certificates later on after that. But I wanted to find out who was the attorney that they were using. And when I got that information, I retained that attorney. I retained him for $2,500 and it was $250 an hour. And I was able to extract 9 to 10 hours worth of information out. And a lot of this, what you're seeing is what I was able to extract. I wanted to know the risk. I wanted to know the process. I wanted to know how I would lose money and, how this thing really works. So if you see, once the tax lien certificate is purchased and it's not redeemed, after a certain period of time, you can foreclose on it and it becomes like a regular real estate play. So we use the tax lien strategy as just a way to get off market product, real estate product, because everyone knows the market is really, really, really out of control right now. And it's still in some states, we're seeing what we call gunfights at tax auctions now, where people are just coming out slinging, overpaying. Is really, you have to really find a niche within this niche to really stand out. And my niche within a niche is finding liens on properties that needs a significant amount of rehab, in areas where maybe a Class C area where people, may not want to invest in. So, I like going into these communities, these low income communities, and making a difference. Again, early in the presentation, I mentioned it gives me the feeling of importance really to go in these communities, revitalize them, put them back on the tax roll, and give the residents a better place to live. And, it's a win-win situation. It's very profitable. If you guys get the opportunity, I have a walkthrough presentation that I do on my Facebook. You can go to Fuquan, Bilal, and check it out. And I just did a whole tax lien series. It was about maybe, I went through like 21 different properties that I showed you the renovations before and after, the purchase price, the holding costs, all of that. So if you really want to see some case studies, you can go to my Instagram or Facebook and you kind of look at, or actually YouTube, I'm sorry, go to my YouTube channel, Fuquan Bilal, and you'll see the whole series that I actually put through on the tax liens. But this is the redemption process here. And this is really where you have to be careful at, because they have the right to redeem in New Jersey is 1 year. So even if you go through the 10 months and you foreclose on a property, or you wait 2 years in a regular auction and you foreclose on a property, you still have to wait a year before you get final title policy. So you really can't sell the property until that redemption period is up, because the homeowner have the right. It's really hard if you go through the right process of foreclosing for them to redeem. So here in the state of New Jersey, we have two types of foreclosure. One is in rem and the other is in personam. So I always go to in personam route because it's a longer route and it's a true foreclosure. It's just like a sheriff's sale foreclosure. When the banks are foreclosing, you get served, you get notices and everything else. And that takes about maybe 10 to 12 months. I've done it on average somewhere around 10 months. And a lot of people that invest in tax liens, they don't like that. They like to do the in rem process, which is about 6 months or less, maybe 4 months. But a lot of stuff can get challenged in the in rem process. And it's more than likely that they can redeem the lien if you go that route. Why people do that, I have no idea. Some people just like speed. I like to make sure that all the risk is removed from the table as much as possible. So I will go the longer route. So this is pretty much the redemption process and the foreclosure process. This is something that the foreclosure attorney really took the time to walk me through, because I wanted to know every step after I buy the lien, what's next? What's next? What's next? That's what I kept asking him. And basically I kept saying, okay, during this process, how do I lose money during this process? I purchased the lien. And then I have to go through, wait 30 days, we file a complaint, and then we file the list pendants, which some of you are aware of that if you're in the business, that's just pending litigation, clouding the title, saying there's an action here. And you really have to be careful once you get into that process. I have a risk slide next that I'll talk about, the dangers you face once you file the list pendants. But yeah, they serve the process, and this is the real foreclosure process they go through, right? So once you go through this whole process, you get the final judgment, and the final judgment here in New Jersey is actually a deed. Now, once you have that final judgment, then you can actually, you still can't get an owner's policy, but you can get a lender's policy, right? You can actually, find a private lender to give you renovation money on his property, and you can put insurance on the property at that time, and you can start your renovation process. So the good thing I like about it is you can avoid capital gains, and I'm not giving any tax advice or anything, but you can avoid capital gains because, by the time you get the final judgment, you have 1 year before you can sell it. So you can do the year and a day thing and avoid that. And it just really is this to me, this is a better strategy because if you're buying a package, like I was successful in buying 18 in one package, 18 at one auction, 12 in another auction, 10 in another auction. And when you're moving at that pace, to me, I never really like buying and selling right away because I want to avoid as much as possible of the taxes. Here is the benefits of it. So these are some of the things you want to stay away from. Definitely wetlands. You don't want to buy tax liens on wetlands, stuff that have environmental issues. That's very important. I've seen a lot of people buy tax liens at the auction and they go through the whole process. And then there's an oil tank in the ground and there's an $80,000 remediation that they didn't account for. So they didn't do the numbers on that. I've seen so many different situations where people lost money, and I've seen a lot of situations where people made money. So the due diligence, do the do is the message that Q always say, do the do. That's very important, especially when it comes to tax liens, because not only have you do your due diligence on the paperwork, the lien, and all of the stuff that's entitled, you have to do your due diligence on the property. And that's what I liked about this. It also this reminded me so much about the note business because I can buy these things, more than one to kind of hedge my investment. And I still had to do the same due diligence, similar to the note business, which was on the properties. So let's talk about the risk now. This is how you lose money in this business. And I really hope you guys are all ears. I lost, somewhere around $130,000. But if I compare that to what I made, it's really insignificant. Let me just say that. So remember before I showed you the slide where I said you're going to file the foreclosure notice. At that point, you're going to have what we call the title raters, right? All of the wholesale guys, all of the guys that say, we buy your house as cash. As soon as that list pendants get filed, that's a red alert for those guys to start sending out their mailers, their door knockers, and everything else. And what I didn't know at the time, even being in the business so long and going through the tax process, I completely forgot about that I was going to go and let's say, 30, 40 properties and file on list pendants on. That's going to send an alert to these guys to start going and do door knocking and trying to now buy this property that's on their radar. And I spent, time and money. And another thing, there's an auctioneer fee. One thing that I didn't mention before that I have here on my slide. When you go to them in local municipalities, sometimes the townships, they do it themselves and there's no auction fee. But the special tax lien auctions that I've attended, there's a 10% auctioneer fee. So if you buy a certificate for $30,000, you pay $3,000 to the auctioneer, right? That's basically how it goes. So if you spend, $200,000, you're going to have, 10% of that in auctioneer fees, which you do not get back if the property is redeemed. Let me run a scenario across you. Let's say you buy a tax lien, you pay the auctioneer fee, you give the file to the attorney, and you're like, okay, this property is vacant. I can fast track it. I don't have to wait 2 years. I should be able to foreclose in 10 months. So now you have the auctioneer fee paid, you pay the money for the lien, and now you start your process. You file your list pendants. It falls on the alert of the wholesale guys. They actually skip trace the homeowner, contact them, and they offer them, cash for keys. Hey, your property that's a pain point for them. Your property is being foreclosed. You don't get taxes. It's dilapidated. You're not living there. You should make something instead of getting foreclosed and not make anything. We'll give you $5,000 or $10,000, whatever they do. And you can go in and redeem the taxes, and then we'll buy the property from you. And that's not right for them to do that, but there are people out there that do that. And I actually got caught up in from title raiders actually taking advantage and probably redeemed maybe about, I want to say 8 properties that I could have made a tremendous amount of profit on. But my costs in that with auctioneer fee and everything, I kind of lost my auctioneer fees on a lot of those properties. So I wasn't able to get that back, and other soft costs that I wasn't able to get back. I was able to put legal and some of the things into the redemption payoff because when they came to the township, they had to ask me what I spent on legal, and my attorney sent them everything. So I was able to get back some of that cost and the interest I made also. But I really wanted the property. The biggest downfall for me was I lost the auctioneer fee. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Another thing you want to keep in mind is when you buy a tax lien, you can't put insurance in the property because although you have equitable interest, you're not the owner of record. So I don't know of an insurance company that will put insurance on it. So if the house burns down while you have the tax lien, then now you have a lot with the lien. So you want to be mindful of that. And you really don't have access to these properties unless they're like wide open. A lot of the times the properties are locked up or boarded up. So you don't have access to them. So you want to be careful when you do your due diligence to kind of, do the best that you can if you can't get access to them. So that was really, these were some of the biggest risks that I had to face and learn about when I went through the business. I definitely believe that this is a great avenue to kind of explore if you are investing in real estate. Is for me is just a way for me to get off market deals at a really, really cheap price. A lot of people still don't pay attention to this market space. Even being in the business for so long, I don't know why I waited really until 4 years ago to really start taking action on it. And I'm really good at pivoting, right? So I can kind of, see what's happening with the market and go, you know what, I need to go over here. Everybody's going in that direction. I need to go over here and kind of figure this out real quick and get this started. And I always go over the hill first and get the arrows in my back, invest my own capital before I start bringing it to other people to do deals. So if you are interested in doing tax liens passively or actively, I would definitely say the first actionable item would be to check with your local municipalities to find out when is the auction dates, how do you register, where do you get the list from? Do they post it online? Do you have to come to the township and get it? And then next I would ask is that vacant property list that have the tax liens. What are they doing with that? And a lot of those times there are people who died and the taxes fell behind and the property can be in decent condition. You never know. I'm pretty sure there's people here who invest in tax lien where there's tons of stories that you guys can tell me, but I believe this is a really, really good investment strategy that a lot of people overlook. What happened to my slide? So yeah, I want to open it up for questions now that you guys may have on the tax lien investing. So passively really would be, as I mentioned earlier, to get involved with the township and kind of see if you're going to buy something that you're not trying to foreclose on, if you're in a tax lien state, if you're just hoping that it's occupied, definitely buy something that's occupied. It's an 85 to 90% chance your lien will be redeemed and you will make the interest on it. What I will stay away from is competing against the bigger hedge funds and bidding down the lien, which you can also check as well. Where I missed out on the first time and I learned is even after the tax lien is over, the auction is over, not all of the liens sell, right? So I began to wonder, what happens with the liens that don't sell? And all I did was go to the county, I'm in the tax office and go, hey, I just attended an auction and you guys had 90 liens, but only 60 sold. What happened to the other 30? Well, we have them and we're going to foreclose on them. Well, are you able to, if you assign those liens to me? How do I buy those? And they said, well, we can assign them over to you at face value. And I'm like, wow. So what sense does it make for me to go to the auction? Well, it makes sense if I saw something I like and I want to bid on it, but I can just literally wait till actually auction is over. And if there's still something that is good that the big hedge funds and people didn't want, I can actually have those liens assigned over to me at face value and I can get the true interest. So that's something that you want to pay attention to also. And I've developed such a great relationship with this township that I'm investing in here in New Jersey, where I don't even have to attend the auctions anymore. I could just go and go, hey, what do you have delinquent? And they'll say we have, X amount of couple of $100,000 worth of delinquent liens. We can assign this over to you. So you got to be able to create those relationships. So, going in and adding value and showing what you can do first, and then coming in and see how you can help the town. And my main goal is, hey guys, I want to help you get these dilapidated properties back on your tax roll and fix them up. You've seen my track record. You've seen I came into the town and, within a year and a half, renovated X amount of properties and put them back on the tax roll for you. Give me the opportunity to make the difference. So you have to go and create these same relationships with your local municipalities if this is something that you're interested in. Yeah, so I'll definitely open up for questions. Now, if you guys have any questions.
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Yeah. So we've gotten a few questions here, guys. If you have questions, be sure to send them to the Q&A box, and we'll definitely try to answer as many as we can. So this is a good one from James. James wants to know, what is a good resource to find the right of redemption period for each state or county?
Yeah, so you like, I just hate to say Google, but it's Google. It's Google. Google it. No, it's you would just go to there's a lot of great books also on tax lien investment, or maybe two that I've read years ago, but it was for New Jersey. There's an attorney in New Jersey who wrote the book, and I read it, and that gave me a lot of good foundational work. Find out in your state, you could just, whatever state you're looking to invest in, what are the redemption period? You just go there and go, what are the redemption period for the tax deed or tax lien in, Texas? They'll basically give you the answer right away. I'm pretty sure now in this day and age, there's so much information on YouTube and social media and everything. So best thing to do is call an attorney. That's what I did, right? I didn't want to really, I went off of the book. I went off of the social media stuff. And I said, you know what? Let me just retain an attorney that I'm actually going to hire to do this. And it happened to be one of the attorneys that does the continuing education courses for the state of New Jersey. And I was like, wow, okay. And I kind of lucked up because it was only $250 an hour. So I paid the money. A lot of people don't want to pay. Like I have so many people who hit me up on social media and go, hey, I saw the series. I want to invest in tax liens. And I go, hey, find an attorney, retain them, give them $1,000 and start asking them questions. Go, sit in his office and extract information. That's how I learned information from the legal part organically. And then I attended the auctions and I started to ask questions with some of the people who were bidding. And I get relationships with those guys as well because they have inventory that they can sell me also.
And I'm muted. All right. So great answer there. And I think you might have answered this one, but maybe one to maybe shed a little bit more light onto.
Sure.
One of our attendees wants to know, are you able to enter these properties? I know with mortgage foreclosures, that is generally not an option.
Yeah, you can't. So because it's not, the township didn't foreclose on them yet. So with the special tax lien auction, a lot of these properties were open. So, you have to be careful. A lot of them need repair. You can, just the roofs are bad. There's a lot of water damage. So you have to be really careful. For me, being in the business for 21 years, I know I can walk through a house and in 15 minutes know the renovation cost. I can actually stand outside of it and go, this is a 2-family house. All right, there's going to be 15 grand for HVAC units. It's going to be 17 grand for electrical, 18 grand for plumbing. Like I can just look at the house. The roof is going to cost me 7 grand. There's something that, I can just calculate that and put together an estimate and then add 15% more in it and go, okay, this is going to be my MOA, my max allowable offer when I go to this bid. I'm not going to pay more. And you have to be disciplined. That's another thing too at the auction. People get caught up in a moment and it's the excitement. I've seen so many people overpay. And they have the remorse at the end. So.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, definitely don't get too caught up in those auctions, as much fun as they can be sometimes. All right. So got another question here. Brad wants to know, how far in advance do municipalities publish their list of vacant properties with overdue taxes? Meaning, how much time do you have to do the due diligence before the auction actually happens?
That's a really great question, right? So you have to check with your local municipality. In New Jersey, it's really published last minute, right? Because they try to give the homeowners enough time to make the payments and become current. So they have the auction somewhere between like after Christmas and before New Year's, they'll have the auction. A lot of times they have the notice posted in the local tax office. Like when you go to pay your property taxes, they have the sale posted there. And sometimes they publish in the newspaper. So you have to really go, from my experience, to answer your question directly, I've seen it literally a month before the sale. I haven't seen them marketing it 3 months or 4 months before the sale. It's usually a month or a few weeks before the sale. But that information will come from your local municipality. Everyone does it differently. Sometimes it's online available to you, where you can actually, get certain information online and bid online nationwide. So you just have to find out when they're posting it. when they're posting to sell. And for as far as due diligence, you know, you definitely want to do title searches. I know Alex from Pro Title. I don't know if you guys ever had him on here. We use him for a lot of due diligence for our title work with notes. They're running a quick lien search for you for $50. And they turn it around within 48 hours or less sometimes. And of course, it's the property due diligence and title due diligence. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention in my presentation, when you buy a tax lien, you want to make sure that you are the priority lien, you're not the subsequent lien, because what happens is, let's say I go to the auction, I buy the lien on the tax that's due now. What I'm supposed to do is continue to pay the taxes and the subsequent taxes, because I get interest on, when I buy the lien, they give the homeowner at least 10 days to pay the taxes when it's due. Then after the 10 days, you as a tax lien holder, certificate holder, can go and pay those taxes. You can earn interest on the subsequent taxes at the same rate. So that's really big. So one thing I learned was that a lien that I purchased was a subsequent lien and it wasn't the priority lien. And I was like, wow, that I was going to be able to foreclose. And I went through the whole process not knowing that. And the priority lien redeemed me. Right. And they were trying to say, hey, let's trade places because you're further on in the foreclosure with us. We'll pay you X amount if we can trade places. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You got to start low from the beginning and wait for 10 months like I did. And he was like, but dude, you're going to make 10 grand more if you do that. I was just like, nope. I was upset. I was like, nope, you got to start over. I had to wait. You're going to wait. So, but yeah.
Great learning experiences, right? Mm-hmm. All right, awesome, guys. So the questions are pouring in. We're going to definitely answer as many as we can, but I really like this one. Typically, how much capital would you need to buy a tax lien? Could a person with little capital try this method?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went with the bag when I went. I mean, you got to have the cash. You have to have, because the tax lien, once you win it, it's not like a sheriff sale auction here in New Jersey. When you sheriff sale, you leave a deposit. You have 30 days to close, bring the rest of the money. You have to have the money right then and there. When you buy the lien, they want a certified check. So after the auction is over, like, okay, you can go to the bank, get a certified check and bring it back to our office and we'll do the paperwork. So that's typically how that works. So you have to have the cash there. I've seen people purchase liens in my state, New Jersey, from 10,000, up to 300,000. So I would say you have to have, some money to play in the space. And you have to have the money for legal also. It's going to cost you. I don't know if that question came through. How much does it cost to foreclose? Typically, it costs me somewhere around $3,500 in legal fees to go through the process. And with the special tax lien auction, if the properties were not secured, I got the rights from the township after I won the auction to give me the green light to go and board up the properties and secure it to protect my investments. So squatters won't go in and burn the house down and lose money. So I had to get permission from them in writing that would allow me to go and secure the property and board it up to secure my investment. And then at that time, while I'm boarding up the property, if I wasn't able to get in it before the auction, now I got the permission from the township after I bought the lien. Even though I'm not still the owner, I still have the right from the township to go and secure the property, look around and do more due diligence.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Very interesting. All right. This is another good question here. If you rehab the property during the 1-year redemption period, aren't you giving the owner a new house if they pay?
I love that question. That's the same thing I asked the attorney. Hey, I'm going to go through all this work and I'm going to put up all this money. And then all they're going to do is come at the end and go, boom, we redeem. So what happens is I spoke about 2 foreclosure processes. One is MRIM and one is in personam. And the MRIM process, which is the shorter foreclosure time, that can be challenged. And I've seen cases like that where it happened. And typically what happens is the homeowner will have to pay the taxes, the interest during that whole period, all your construction costs, all your legal fees and all that. And some people may say, well, it may be so much equity, it may be worth it. It's rare that a judge will allow that because there were certain notifications that went out to warn in the township. Remember, before it went to tax auction, sent several notifications, which they ignored. Your attorney and legal team sent several notifications. And they just haven't responded. So, the courts are not dumb. They understand people play those games and people could come behind them, offer them money to do that. It has happened, but it's rare in the in personam foreclosure, which is the long route for foreclosure, where people are actually served. like a true foreclosure, that can happen. It's like a 2% chance that the judge will allow redemption. But that is the risk that you take. I haven't really seen it much, but people went and did a full rehab and somebody took the property back, unless they were, I don't know, in the military and they didn't get the notice or whatever happened, through the foreclosure process. But that's rare for that to happen.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah. And speaking of mitigating risk, this was actually a question of my own that I wrote down. So you said one of the risks was, you don't have insurance on these properties. And that's really interesting to me. Is there any way to mitigate that risk of not having insurance on the property in your experience?
Yeah, so to me, this business reminded me of the note business. As you guys may know, I buy second liens. Everybody's like, oh, risky, second liens. But I always hedge my investment on multiple assets. So when I went into the tax lien business, I said, I'm not going to buy one, I'm going to buy multiple, because if a fire does happen and burn one out, now I have other properties that can help me make up for that loss that I had. Plus, I still own a lot, right? And I could build new construction. I could do several things and still try to make a profit on it. But I try to hedge it against other assets. So that's my strategy. You have to figure out what's best for you from the amount of money you have to spend. But when I go to these auctions, I'm not going to buy one property. I'm going to buy 10 or more. So if I lose an auctioneer fee or for somebody, a title rate to come, like I told you, I lost 130,000, but we made, over $1 million in profits. So, when you look at it, balance it out, you're like, I still did good.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that mentality. This is an interesting question here. Do you recommend purchasing tax liens on mineral rights?
I have no idea about that. I would say that's a good question though. I've never looked into that. If that's something that's viable, then I definitely would say investigate it, educate yourself on it, pursue it. For me, it's just the pure property play. I didn't really like the fact that if I was going to buy a lien and if it was redeemed, I wouldn't get the property, even though if I would make money. But in New Jersey, it's 2 years before you can actually do a foreclosure. And then once you get close to foreclosure, they pay. But to answer your question on mineral rights, no, I haven't really looked into that. If that's something that's interesting to you, I would say educate yourself on it and go after it.
Definitely, yes. Interesting question. I don't even know if that's possible, but definitely something to look into. This is a good question here. Many of the New Jersey municipalities are holding online tax auctions and they are closed bid. How do you decide what number to bid?
Yeah, so it's really what's your max allowable offer, right? So, like I said, it was a gunfight. In the last one I was at, I had it was a 4-unit property where it was 2 stores and 2 apartments, and the lien on it was like I don't know, 220,000, and my max offer was going to be they started the auction off at 50,000. My max offer was somewhere around 180. The property sold for 350. I couldn't believe it. And I found out who the buyer was, and I said, "Hey, why did you pay so much? Educate me. I don't understand it." He said, "Well, I'm going to turn this 4-unit into a 9-unit. I'm going to get a variance and I'm going to build on top of it." And I go, "Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I guess." If you do the renovations, the property worth for $1 million. Now it makes sense to me. I'm losing myself in the question that was asked. I'm trying to figure out why did I say that. What was the question again?
It was, oh gosh, there's so many in here. It was how do you decide, basically, how do you decide?
Oh, yeah. I got it. Got it with it. Yeah. So your max allowable offer, and then basically what your plan is. That's why I went there. What your plan is for the property. Some people have different plans, right? Different investment strategies. They might want to tear it down and build something else. Maybe they're just buying it for the land. So that's one thing that you have to be concerned about. What's the best intent, best use you're going to do with this property? What's there may not be viable for what you want to do to get the maximum profit. So you might just be buying this property to knock it down and do something else, to repurpose it for something else. So that's how you would determine on what you want to bid.
Nice. And have you done that before, where you buy a tax lien with just the ultimate intention to just tear it down and build something totally new? Just curious.
Yeah, I did actually. I wound up selling it. It was a 6-unit. I purchased a 4-unit and a 6-unit right next to each other in different tax auctions. And behind the 6-unit was it was garages, commercial garages. where the township, like 25 years ago, used to use it to service their police vehicle. They just did brake changes, no oil changes, nothing environmental, just brake changes and stuff like that to service the police vehicles. So it's a big place behind it. And the whole thing was to knock that down and build another 15-unit building behind a 6-unit building. And by the time I finished the renovation of the 6 and cleaned everything out, I got an offer for $1.1 million. And I think I was only into it, maybe the 6-unit for less than $500,000. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sell it. It's COVID. I'm going to sell it. Mm-hmm. So I got rid of it. And that was really profitable.
Nice. That's awesome. That's a cool deal right there. Yeah. Let's see, we've got time for just a couple of more questions here. So this is probably the last one I'll do. Then we'll kind of talk about your different other resources that you offer. But I like this question. If you do have a homeowner come back and want to claim the property, won't they be obligated to pay the new owner for improvements?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you purchased the lien and you did your renovation and you have legal costs, you have everything, they have to pay you for all of that. So, whatever your construction cost is, whatever your legal fees are and interest that you made on the loan, on a lien, they have to pay all of that. So it can still turn out to be profitable for you. Again, it's rare that happens. It all depends on how the foreclosure process was done, if they were properly notified. Because again, the tax office sent them tons of notification telling them that your property is going to be sold. It was published. Your lawyer, hopefully they did the right foreclosure process. They had them served. So, it's like if you're losing a house. So there's a redemption period also in sheriff's sale here in New Jersey. It's 10 days after the auction that you have the right to redeem. And it's rare that happens.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And to kind of just wrap it all up for today, I know you mentioned several times throughout the presentation, you've recently done a course, you've got a YouTube channel. Kind of take a minute to plug all of that, let everyone know what other educational resources you offer, where they can find that, and if they want a copy of your slides, how do they get those?
Sure. Yeah. Just if you go to, I'm gonna make you guys do some work if you want the slides. You got to go to YouTube and like my page, and I'll send you, I'll send you the slide. You can hit me on Facebook with your email address, private message, and I'll give you guys the slides. No problem. So I use social media for education nowadays. I used to have on the educator hat years ago and used to do all these masterminds and stuff. And right now I leverage the power of social media and I just share with people organically my challenges that I go through, the successes that I go through, and also the renovation stuff that I do, to fix and flips, notes, any educational information that I can put out. I have a podcast, so let me just run down the line. PFREI is Passion for Real Estate Investments. You can go to pfrei.co to check out all of the podcasts. You can catch them on social media also. On YouTube, I have a show called Walkthrough with Fuquan, where I walk you through my renovations before and after, and I have a tax lien series on that you want to check out. And I also post some stuff on my Instagram, motivational things. Like every time I close on a property, it's for inspiration to kind of help people who's just getting new in the business, to show them, hey, there's still inventory out there. Because people saying, I can't find deals. There's no inventory. The market is hard. There's a tremendous amount of deals. It's how are you going about finding them? And one of the avenues is tax liens, vacant property. There's several ways that you can find leads. So you just got to keep putting 100% into it and connecting around the right people.
Awesome. And that website was pfrei.co.
Yep. Make sure you guys go there, check it out. I have all the podcasts that I've done, and you get to hear from people who's active in the business, keyword active, who's still doing deals, people who do multifamily, short sales, wholesales, a whole bunch of different things. So I try to bring on other people that I'm in masterminds with, or I know that's actively doing stuff that can share their knowledge and information with you as well. Maybe on something that you're planning on passively investing in, but you want more information about it. You can find information there from those other individuals as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, guys. So I put that link down in the chat. Ignore the first one. It had a typo, but I did get the right one in there. Fuquan, this has been so educational. I do also want to say I love your PowerPoint. Sometimes it's a really hard balance between putting all of the information in there and not having it just look like a wall of text. And I think you did a great job with that, you and your team. So I thought the PowerPoint was really great today, as well as the presentation. And do you have any last kind of final thoughts, closing pieces of advice for our audience before we sign off for today?
Yeah, I would definitely say, first I want to give a shout out to you guys, Quest. I mean, you guys do a really good job at bringing on speakers that educate your clients on different strategies that they can take advantage of. I would just say, you have to take action, right? So you can sit on your account for as long as you want, but it's when you feel as though that you found something that speaks to you, that resonates with you, continue to educate yourself into it, and then take action. That's definitely what I want to leave everybody with.
Mhm. I think that's fantastic advice. And guys, if you have questions, reach out to us, reach out to Fuquan. Be sure to go like his YouTube channel. There's a lot of great resources for y'all there. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And we'll see you at our upcoming webinars next week, as well as the virtual networking happy hour that we'll be hosting on Wednesday, September 1st. You can find all of that information on our website at questtrust.com. If you have any questions, feedback, let us know. We're always happy to hear it. And Fuquan, thanks for joining us today. Have a great rest of your
Absolutely, it's
weekend.
a plum pleasing pleasure.
I love that. Awesome, everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.